Hey guys, welcome back to Colson's Critters. I'm Cole Smith, and in today's video, I'm going to give you my top 5 favorite beginner corals. Let's get into the video. Make sure you guys stay tuned to the end to see the bonus coral that didn't quite make it on the list. Okay, first on the list is going to be Zoanthids. Zoanthids come in a variety of different colors, and they're super easy to take care of. They like dirty water, low to middle of the tank. With zoas, it's actually pretty cool because they'll stretch up if they're not getting enough light, and they'll close if they're getting too much light. So they kind of tell you where they want to be in the tank. They like medium low flow, and they do super well in pretty much any tank, mixed tanks, like mixed reefs, super clean tanks, or super dirty tank. One of our display tanks at Toadstools Aquatics is just basically only zoas, and it's super cool because of the amount of color and variety that they have. They grow really fast, so it's one of those corals that are like super good for beginners because you can actually propagate them, and when they grow, and you can take them out and give them to friends, or you can bring them into a fish store and get store credit, or sell them online. We have tons of colonies of zoas in the tank behind me here. Just started out with little frag plugs, and now before you know it, you have this big giant colony of zoas. So they're just one of those corals that are just really easy to take care of, and they provide a lot of color and pop into the tank. When somebody asks me like, Colson, what do you think is the best beginner coral? Zoanthids are gonna be the one that I will pick, which is why it's #1 on my list. It is going to be mushroom corals. They come in a different variety. They have some really crazy ones like those bounce mushrooms that you see with the big bubbles and the crazy colors on them and whatnot. They can be really pricey, like those big bounce mushrooms. They go for upwards to $1,000, or even more sometimes in some cases. But there's also some cheaper mushroom corals, like $20, $10 corals, mushroom corals, that are super cool as well, and they still have a bright pop of color. I have a eucalyptus mushroom, or it's in the jawbreaker family, in my 10 gallon right now, and it's probably my favorite mushroom all time. It's a little pricey, but definitely worth the money in my opinion. My 10 gallon tank is like a ton of mushrooms in there, so I have like a little mushroom garden, which I'll throw a few videos and clips up right now. I'm absolutely in love with mushrooms right now. They're probably one of my favorite corals, and they're just super easy to take care of. They like dirtier water, but they do well in a little bit of clean water as well. They like low, medium light. I've noticed that the lower light, they do a little better. When you tend to put them in the higher light, they do tend to melt a little bit. So the lower light is definitely a lot better for them, which comes in handy for the spots in your tank that are a little shaded, that you want to bring a bright pop of color to still. You can pop a little mushroom in there, and he'll grow out, and you make a little mushroom garden with a bunch of different kinds of mushrooms, and you get some pretty cool stuff. We actually have this Yuma mushroom down here that was just a regular Yuma, and it turned into a bounce Yuma where it got these big bubbles on it, and now it's worth a lot more money than what I paid for. Which is really cool. There's tons of different types of mushrooms. There's like Rickordia, which are the smaller little bubbles on it. The Yuma, which has a little bit bigger. There are bounce mushrooms, which are the ones that have the huge crazy bubbles that go for a lot of money. There's eucalyptus mushrooms, redactus mushrooms. There's tons of different types of mushrooms, like umbrella mushrooms and whatever. Tons of mushrooms and tons of different variety, and you can make a pretty cool like mushroom garden by just having a bunch of them, which I think is really cool. 3 on the list is going to be the Duncan coral. The Duncan coral is super cool. Mainly when everyone comes in and they're like, Colson, what's a really nice flowy coral that is super easy to take care of still? And I'll point them to the Duncan coral because it's one of those LPS that are just pretty hardy, and they don't need much care requirement wise. They do really well in like a dirty-ish tank, which most beginners are gonna have more of a dirty tank than a clean tank. So you don't have to do as frequent water changes with them. But they also provide that nice flowiness, and they're almost like a torch, but they're a lot easier than a torch. They're pretty much only green, sometimes they're blue. I have a really big colony right here that I'll pop up a few videos of. We also have one at Toadstools Aquatics that is like super green on the stalk, and then the blue polyps on the end, and it almost looks like a torch colony. Like some people actually think it's a torch colony. It's super cool, and they provide that nice flowiness, but they're still easy to take care of. They like to be in the middle to low tank. This one specifically, this one is in the middle of the tank. He does really well here. Sorry, I'm having trouble talking. He does really well in the middle of the tank. He's getting like medium flow, but they do well in lower flow as well. I've noticed medium flow they do a little better in. But they're overall just a fairly easy coral to take care of. They don't need like a really good light or anything. And you can actually spot feed them if you want by just putting some mysis shrimp on it or some different types of coral foods. They do a lot better with that, but you don't have to. When you feed your fish, they'll get food as well. And they grow really, really fast. This one behind me here is like super big. You can actually see it like that right there is the Duncan, which is just like this whole circle right here is the Duncan colony. It's like really big. Fourth on the list is gonna be candy cane corals. Candy cane corals are super easy to take care of. They are kind of like a Duncan where they have that stalk, but also kind of like an AQUARIUM where they're nice and fluffy on the top. They have a couple different colors, but there's not too many varieties, which makes it lower on my list. But they pretty much just have like the kryptonite candy cane, the mint candy cane, and there's another candy cane, I can't remember the name of it. It's like a brownish colored one with the white stripes through it. I have a colony of it here, which I'll pop up on the screen. If you remember the name of this one, just let me know down in the comments below. Candy cane corals are pretty easy to take care of. They like low to medium light. I've noticed in our tank here behind us, they do better in the lower light. They have pretty low flow in this corner over here, but they're thriving. We started with only a couple heads of the candy cane coral, and now we have like pretty decent sized colonies that are about like, I don't know, 6 or 7 heads. And they haven't been in there very long, and we've actually fragged them twice now and put them in my puffer tank, in Fred's tank. Specifically, the kryptonite candy cane is really, really bright, and it brings that bright green pop of color in the tank. So if you want something just to brighten up your tank, the kryptonite candy cane would be a really good option for you. Okay, last but not least is going to be Toadstools Leather corals. The reason they are 5th on the list is actually the Kenya tree. When it gets like stung, it actually releases a poison in your water, a toxin, which actually I believe crashed my tank, but that's a whole nother topic. So that makes them 5th on the list. Plus not the biggest fan of them. They are super easy to take care of, and they are like nice and flowy, kind of like a Duncan. Some of them with the longer tentacles on them, like the toadstools, they can be really flowy and kind of like a torch aspect. Not really, but like they have a nice flow to them. They come in a couple different colors, like pops of color. Mainly green is the bright green color is the main one. But I have seen some that are like purple and even some orange ones as well. They do well in like low, medium, light. Pretty dirty water they'll be fine in, and they're like super easy to take care of. Fragging them is pretty fun too, especially with the Kenya tree. They kind of make these stalks off, so you can cut them off or you can wait and they'll actually pop them off and they'll float around the tank. With a toadstool, you can kind of just like cut a little triangle on it, put that on a frag plug, and it grows into another toadstool. So they're pretty easy to frag. Just be careful when you cut them, as they, like I said, they do release a poison or toxin in your water. So either run carbon after or just remove the whole thing, cut it, rinse it off with some salt water and put it back in your tank, which you should normally do when you're fragging coral anyway. But yeah, let's move on to the bonus one. The bonus coral that I picked was AQUARIUMs, and the reason this didn't make it on my list is because they are a little harder to take care of than the other 5 that I've listed. They still have really nice colors and they bring that bright pop of color to the tank. Like, they have so many different varieties, but they are a little harder to take care of. They still like a dirtier water, like low, medium, light. They're an LPS, which means large polyp stony. And yeah, in the tank behind me here, they don't do very well in, because this tank is like super clean. So whereas like the Duncan, the Zoas, they all still do fine, the AQUARIUMs in here actually die. The ones in my 20 gallon, they do great. It's just the one in the 150, they just never survive. We have a ton of them right now at Top Shelf. They come in like tons of different colors and they're super, super cool. We have a little AQUARIUM garden in our 90 gallon display. Pretty much all the corals that I have on this list are in our 90 gallon display, which is pretty cool. The reason GSP and pulsing xenia didn't make it on my list, I know a lot of you probably are commenting right now like, oh, Colson, why didn't you put GSP or pulsing xenia on there? The reason it didn't make it on my list, whereas they are the easiest corals by far in this hobby, is that they take over. They will take over the whole tank and they will kill a lot of corals as well. So I would recommend staying away from them as a beginner, because once you get to the point, if you start with them, you'll only have them in your tank, and pretty much anything you add in there will just get taken over by it. So if you really want pulsing xenia and GSP, they are nice. What we do at Top Shelf is our GSP is glued on the back wall, and every time it kind of starts to come off the sides, we just frag it. and throw away or sell the frag pieces of it. With Bleaching Xenia, there's really not much you can do with that. It kind of just, it grows into a big colony, and then they have little bunches that split off and go somewhere else, so you'll just end up with a whole like entire section of Bleaching Xenia everywhere. So with that, I mean, I have GSP and Bleaching Xenia, but they're in my puffer tank, so they're kind of the only corals that are there. I don't really have to worry about them taking over or killing any other corals. So yeah, as a beginner, I'd probably stay away from them if you can. A better alternative would be the Toadstool or the Duncan that I mentioned earlier in the list. With that being said, that is gonna wrap up today's video. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, let me know down in the comments below. Also hit the thumbs up button so I can make more videos like this, and subscribe if you're new here. Let me know if your top 5 corals would be different down in the comments below, and let me know if you agree with my top 5 as well. With that being said, till next time, peace. I almost forgot to mention the comment winner of the day. For those of y'all that don't know, I am gonna start doing a little comment winner. So every last video, I'm gonna be picking my favorite comment and popping them up on the screen here, giving it a little bit of a shout out. So thank you to this person for commenting, and yeah, till next time, peace.